both ways, you may as well make it interesting. May as well play some good football. May as well have somebody
help yourself,
press from the front. Jesus, take on players, get assists. Make it fun. If you're gonna be not winning a league, which is what it was looking like for us after them signings, then at least make it fun. But yeah, we should never have signed him. Koulibaly, he was on the peripherals, he was on the fringes because we got a lot of centre backs, but
he looks half decent, but generally
stepped it up.
Been moving mad.
Last couple of games, he stepped it up. To be fair to him, in the middle of the back three, he was very rash, getting a lot of needless bookings, but he stepped it up. So he might be surviving it. But Sterling, I've never really gone back on him. Cucurella, I've never gone back on him. They haven't been great, but I have no doubt in there.
You still got faith in Cucurella? Because for me, he's done all right recently, but he's looking shaky, and that was Graham Potter's done. Sterling's a Gaza man, so I'll always support him as much as he's playing for you lot. And I think, obviously, with Sterling, you know what time it is when you're seeing man operate off the right-hand side. Like, that's not him. He needs to be on the left, running in behind, doing what he's doing at City. And kind of what we said at the beginning, Chelsea are not thriving as a football club. No defender looks wavy. The attacking looks meaty. So everybody's kind of got to be afforded that indirect act, in my opinion. I'd keep faith in Sterling. I think Sterling's wavy. As I said, Sterling, Felix permanently, see what Mudryk can do, couple other things. The transition, this time a year from now, it looks very different from Chelsea. And I think as much as we banter each other, I think fans need to understand this is going to be a regular theme for all of the top six. In the way everything's touching and turning to gold right now on copper with you lot, and people are using that, for example, with Declan Rice signing for our clubs, things can change in a blink like that. We're quite fortunate is that we committed to this project that we're doing, and we're a couple years ahead of it, and everybody else, you lot, Liverpool, Man United, slightly maybe even City, they're all on transitional periods. That's why I want my club to take advantage of it, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. The context of Cucurella is that he got, apparently now the report came out, he got burgled early on in his Chelsea career when his wife was expecting their next
child. Got punched in his face. He still was moving wavy.
But that might
got robbed. He's still playing wavy.
Unsettled. New club, unsettled, and
you get robbed every day, B.
Yeah, but it hits different people, innit? Differently. So he's not settled. So I feel like that's partly why he hasn't been maybe performing, is because he's not being settled off the pitch. For me, the guy played so well at Brighton. It was way too early for me to be saying. I know he's overpriced. Yeah, he's overpriced, but the guy played way too well at Brighton for me to be thinking that this guy's just lost all of his ability. It didn't make any sense. Last couple of games, he's picked it up. Some of his passing has been immense. So long may it continue, hopefully. Long may it continue. When you look at our defensive options, they're brilliant, honestly. Silva signed up. Koulibaly, if he keeps playing like this in the free. James, Gusto coming in from Lyon. You've got Chilwell. Ian Matson's doing brilliant at Burnley. He's coming back. Levi Colwell. Levi Colwell?
He's wavy.
Ian Matson? You don't know Ian Matson? Ian Matson's
he's wavy as well. Yeah, they're good young players. I just have to run agendas. Like, I've got my eyes and ears everywhere. Like, them couple boys are all right.
Fafana's been playing great,
bro. Yeah. Right, go on. Let me let you finish.
Fafana, Badiashile. So, Trevor, there's a lot of centre backs.
I don't know who Fafana is. I know about Saliba. I don't know about Fafana, but he's meaty. He bought the wrong French centre back, man. He's just different. That Benoit guy is wavy. I don't know why he's lost his place in the team. I know he's young and that, but he's someone I used to buy Football Manager all the time. He's quite wavy still. Obviously, he's young. So yeah, man.
Yeah. No, we got good options, man. Good options back there.
So you mentioned Cobham, and I was going to ask you it later, but like Mason Mount, this contract stuff, Mount as a player. 1 minute he's linked with Liverpool. You've heard United and City are involved. Obviously, people could just be making things up, but where are you at with Mason Mount as a footballer? Where are you at with this contract stuff? Do you think he stays? Do you think he goes? Where are you at with that?
I've always tried to defend Mason Mount's ability, because I do feel like right now he's very easily disregarded as a bum, right? No ability, no nothing. And I always say, well, he would never have got to this point if he had zero ability. Now, do I think he's regressed? Definitely. Not even stagnated. I think he's actually regressed now. And I think partly because not only his need to want to play every game, he's kind of sacrificed his position almost, because he just wants to be on the pitch to help.
Like for England.
Yeah, to be versatile, to come and play left forward, to play right forward, to put up the GA last season, and exactly a master of none. And what he should have been mastering was his craft, which is midfield free, and trying to be an 8. And that's where he was at Derby, that's where he was at Vitesse, and he's playing brilliantly. And that's what caught the eye in the first place. And when he got his first player of the year, that was the position he was playing in a lot, and he was brilliant. And second player of the year was more on statistics and GA, and the performances dropped. And people that were watching really understood that the performances dropped in that second season where he got the player of the year that third season. And this season he's been awful. Now, the thing is with him is that I'm not really too bothered either way because
I didn't think you'd say that, bro. I know you don't overhype the Cobham boys, but you've got an affiliation to them to kind of keep.
Yeah. Do you know what it is with me? Yeah, I've learned a lot from this Hudson-Odoi thing, brother.
I won, but at what
cost? Football is a game that you just can't predict anything, bro. Every Chelsea fan after the 2 player of the years would have said this guy's gonna leave. He's gonna stay at the club for his whole life. He's never gonna leave. He's gonna be a legend.
Mr. Chelsea and that.
Mr. Chelsea, bro. He could be going to Liverpool. We got Felix. Like, that's something that happens on FIFA, bro. It doesn't even make any sense. And it's like, I'm at a point now where I'm like, if you go, I've seen better leave. I've seen Hazard. I've seen Lampard. I've seen all these top players leave. You're not those guys, bro. You're not those guys. You can be replaced. The narrative was always, we can't play without him. You know, lots of people tried to create that narrative. Without him, we'll never win a game. He's absolutely integral to the team and
just the madness.
All of the intangibles.
Is integral. I don't know about Mason Mount being that.
And they say the same thing with Kante. You can't play without him. You know, I said, what are the other teams in the world doing? Because they don't have him. Yeah, Real Madrid don't have Kante.
What are you going to do if he does the Casemiro thing and gets a straight red? He's out for 4 games.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. No player since Messi and Ronaldo at their peak, and maybe people now come with Mbappe, but for me, he's not the levels Messi was at all. No chance, not even a conversation. No, these are the only 2 players that you could say are, you know, untouchable, where it's like, yo, if they're not in the team, if you have to keep a hold of these players. Like, no way.
Slightly extend that to
Haaland. Ain't nobody gonna be able to sit here and convince me that if Mason Mount leaves Chelsea Football Club is finished and can never progress and can never.
You might miss it. You might think what could have happened, but all over, throw your toys out the pram. That's stupidness.
100%. We will move.
James left if I was honest.
Yeah, we will move, bro. Literally, like a couple of days. Okay, cool. It's just weird, but we'll have to move on. And the same thing with Jorginho when he went to Arsenal. It was weird. I didn't like it, but we have to move on. So. It moves fast, and at the end of the day, the contract's on the table. I understand why he's not signing it. It's 180k apparently over 6-7 years. I can completely get why he wouldn't sign that.
Swear.
Yeah.
He's in a position to leverage that a bit more, especially with the new things coming into the club and whatnot.
Exactly, bro. And it's like,
is he worth anymore? Chelsea have to make that decision, man.
It's a standoff because he'll feel his performances in previous years warrants to be one of the top earners. I can't disagree with that. I completely understand. The new board will say, well, listen, your performances right now are poor and you're not starting and we're trying to bring the wage bill down. So it's 2 people going up against each, and I completely understand both sides.
You buy an ex-Don who's wavy, no one cares really.
Exactly, bro. And it's like, people talk about Felix versus Mount. It's not really Felix versus Mount because Nkuku's coming in anyway. It's Enzo Fernandez.
You lot got too many players, fam.
Look at Enzo Fernandez, bro. Yeah, you even forgot about Nkuku coming in. That's already done. It's already done. Like, it's green light finished.
Yeah, Romano said that about 10 years ago. That was done. Yeah, man.
But done. Look at Enzo Fernandez. That level of passing that he's bringing to the team, and it's something that has been questioned of Mount for a long time. Vision, spotting the pass. Not overcooking it, not undercooking it in open play. Can you give that creativity to the team? Can we play through you? It's always been a question. And then you take him out and you put Enzo in there and you can see you can play through that player. So then what does Mason Mount become after that? Does he become the player that plays next to him and gives the industrial work? Well, Gallagher's more than happy to do it on half the contract, off the bench, and stay at Chelsea.
Take any minute he can, really.
Take any minute he can and do a similar job. So it's like you're starting to become a player that is not really 100% integral to the team. Now you're just a rotational piece. And I've looked at this happen before. Tammy played in his first year, starter all the time. Then you tried to make him into a rotational piece. He was like, hold on a second. I scored 15 goals. I play every week. Why am I rotating? Some players can't handle being a rotational piece, especially when you like bigged up your brand. And
that's where we're going to be with Balogun next year. Not that I think it's the same with Tammy, because Tammy went on loan for a few years. Can you really blame the players? Like, you've been playing, you don't want to sit on the bench.
Right. It's not good for your PR. It's not good for your brand. It's not, football's now all about PR and branding and off the pitch and numbers and socials. It's not good for Mount to become a rotational piece after winning 2 Player of the Years, going into the England team, starting under Southgate. He's not going to regress into a rotational piece. He's not going to want that. So I can understand from his side why he would want to maybe go to a Liverpool in a team that suits him. Klopp suits him to the ground. Start for them. They're reshaping their midfield, and you go again. So for me, the player is overrated sometimes and underrated.
there's essentially no balance when discussing.
There's no balance with the player. There's still things he needs to improve as a footballer, but he's not a scrub. And I think if he goes to Liverpool, he'll show that he's a very, very good player.
I think he tries too hard. I think that's the only thing. He does that Bruno Fernandes stuff. He tries too hard to take the club on his shoulders. And I like that. You should have to do that. But it's all about balance, really, really and truly, if I'm completely honest.
He's become very GA focused.
Yeah. Exactly. Very GA focused, man. We've got a couple of questions. Well, we've got a lot of questions for you because there's bare questions. We're going to go throughout them throughout the course of this. But I've been airing this super chat. One love C for this one.
Oh, did you freeze? You're still here? Okay, you're here.
Don't know what happened there. Technical difficulties, but we moved. Yeah, sorry for that, people, man. Big up yourself, C, for the super chat. He said, Deluded and Ma, what's your advice about an aspiring journalist like myself? I'm going to university in the fall in Oklahoma to pursue a broadcast journalism. Also, when will England win the World Cup? I can't tell you when England win the World Cup. My personal advice for journalism, not that I can have that. I would actually say, because a journalist said that at an event, have a YouTube channel, have some content. For me, I would say think outside the box. And don't put, never stop networking, because I'm pretty sure in all aspects, there's probably an elite journalist who's great at everything, story finding, but his stories are not out there. And there's probably mediocre dons who are out there. So that's what I would say personally. Love for the super chat. What would you say to that, Matisse?
Yeah, I definitely would say the traditional methods are dying somewhat. Obviously, you can go to the big hitters, the newspapers, and best believe it's not what it looks like in terms of the dream. There's quotas to hit, there's views you need to account for, you need to hit certain targets. Sometimes they make you write things you don't want to write, pieces you don't want to put out, controversial headlines that you don't believe in, you have to put out because we need to hit certain quota for the month.
Amen.
What you need to be doing is, I agree with you, get a YouTube channel. I think Ben Jacobs is a prime example. He's a journalist, but he's done it in a very different way. He's coming onto everybody's YouTube channels. He's speaking, not just articulating with his writing, but also speaking about what he's reporting. Right. And it's gravitating a lot more people to him. And you could become a journalist that doesn't only
write, but as well. I'd say that as well. Throw that into him as well.
Yeah. You could easily become a journalist that is not just writing articles, but is actually speaking on, not just YouTube channels. I'm talking about TV companies. They could invite you to come and speak, to give knowledge, to give your information on platforms like that. And everybody's always taking that information, via their ears before they go and read something in the modern era anyway. So there's different ways to do it. I would definitely be creative with it. Don't just go down the traditional route completely. Obviously do that, but make sure you got something for yourself as well on the side.
Exactly. Think inside the box, outside the box. Do everything traditionally, but untraditionally as well, is what I'd say. Next one, Matisse, are you worried with the financing post Abramovich, not being against the man, but financial institutions if you don't get success in the near future? Obviously, I don't know what that means, but that could be in relation to your spending, the 8-year deals and stuff. Do you feel that stuff's sustainable?
I do trust these guys because they've run a sports team before in the Dodgers. They didn't become billionaires by being stupid, innit? They must know the finances. They must know the rules. They found the loophole for the 8-year, 7-year contracts, and then obviously UEFA come and shut that down. So they must be clued up on what they're doing, and that's why the wages are to come down if we don't make it. And I'm sure there's all these little clauses and whatnot. But they do need to get in there because listen, when you spend this kind of money, regardless of what you got financially, there's expectation, and Champions League football is an expectation that we need to be hitting. So. Yeah, regardless of if they've got the finances wrapped up or not, I expect us to be in the Champions League with this kind of spend.
You mentioned you expect you to be in the Champions League. You lot
not this season.
Oh, you've ready. So what do you salvage from this season? One's clearly going as far as you can in the Champions League. What do you man? Let's talk about Chelsea. What do you salvage from this season? How much of this is to blame with Graham Potter? Are you Graham Potter in or out? Where do you lot go from here, bro?
Salvaging wise, bro, you have to try and win the Champions League, but I'm taking it one round at a time. I think if I had a manager on Tuchel's level in terms of an elite level manager that had been there and done it, not someone who's not tried and tested at this level in Potter, who's in the Champions League for the first time, I'd be saying that Chelsea can win the Champions League. But right now I'm taking it round by round because
choose enough, man. Come on, please.
Man,
whenever you lot are bookie in the league, that's when you lot start winning these things. Oh my days.
But this time the mentality of the team is in question, and when it wasn't with Drogba, Lampard, and all them guys. And then the other time we had an elite level coach who had got to the final the year before with PSG and lost to Bayern. and he made the system. And this time we have a team that we're trying to put a system together and a new manager who's never done it before. So we don't have either or. So I haven't got the same chest of us going all the way. But I will say that each round at a time, and it's literally 5 games, bro. It's 5 games.
I heard you say that on a video that Rance clipped up, and I thought, you're talking facts.
Two draws. I think
you said something. Yeah, you said something like that. 2 draws and a this, and we're there, and
that's all it is. 2 draws and 3 wins, and you're champions of Europe. So, but yeah, it depends on the draw. The draw's obviously on Friday, so we have to see who we get before we start getting excited. But in the league, I think a Europa League place minimum. You should be aiming for top 6. Top 4 for me is not happening. I've run the mathematics. We ain't catching up.
You reckon? You proper reckon? What's the mathematics? You proper reckon it's done? It's
done.
Yeah, but it's proper done now.
Yeah, not happening. I think we've left ourselves way too much to do. One, because I know we're going to still drop points in the future. You know, I think the max amount of points we can get now is something like 73.
You're 3 points away from 40, though. Safety in the league, though.
Yeah, safety, bro. 100%. I'm more than happy to be in the Premier League next season, bro. Trust me. So humble.
I think you're being a bit harsh, man. Chelsea. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's not that many games left, but you lot have played 26. That's a game in hand on Spurs. You know, you've played a game in front of Newcastle. Spurs are on 48 points. You're on 37.
The reason why I don't see it is because Say the average came down to something like 66, right? We still have to win most of our games. And I'm looking at it. We have to travel to Arsenal. We have to travel to City. We have to travel to Manchester United. We have to play Liverpool at home. We have to play Newcastle at home, Brentford, Brighton at home. We have to play most of our games are teams above us. And what has Potter failed to do at this point? Beat a top 6 team. Still failed to beat a top 6. He's still not beaten a top 6 team since he's come here. The biggest win he's had was that win against Dortmund, which is why I'm not getting too ahead of myself, because I expect us to beat Leicester with a shocking defense. I expect us to beat Leeds at home. Dortmund, we should even still be in the last 8 with the quality we have in the squad. We should be in the last 8. It's nothing to really go too crazy about. He's got to show that he can beat Liverpool. He can beat Klopp. He can beat Pep. He can beat Arteta. He can beat all of these guys. Conte, you know, who's still going to try and pick up his little points here and there. And that's before we even get to the Brentfords, the Brightons, the Newcastles, who has tricks. And then, even before we get to the Brentford, Brightons, and Newcastles, look at the way the Bournemouths are scrambling at the bottom of the table for their points.
I don't want to play no one in the bottom.
Bro, you don't want to play anybody.
You don't want to play. We got Palace on the weekend. It's not an easy fixture.
You don't want to play these teams that are scrambling at the bottom of the league, especially away from
anything
home.
From 12th to 20th is political right now.
100%. Sneak in a little Bournemouth away, 12:30 kickoff, and it can go left. Look what happened to Liverpool. So for me, there's just no chance we're going to get it, because I just know we're going to drop points in some of these games, and it's just too much for me to expect us to go on this stupid run, which is what we'd have to do, a stupid run. Everybody else above us on top of that drop points. We got to take points off them. The funny thing is, taking a point off of Tottenham, Liverpool, it's not enough. You have to beat them. You take a point off these teams, you're not getting top 4. You have to beat them. We have to actually take a deficit. It's a deficit from them. We need them to drop points. So we have to beat these teams in their own backyard, and then we will potentially catch them. But that means I'm saying must wins against Arsenal, Man City, United, Liverpool. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, in the Premier League, it's absolutely. When you put it like that, you've left yourself with a lot. Big up my YouTube channel members. James has said, Matisse, would you take Trossard over Mudryk? Not trying to be funny, legit question. He ain't hit the ground running, but there's a very high ceiling for that kid.
Listen, Trossard right now, obviously, is the better player in this league, right? So if I wanted instant impact, I'm looking at Trossard, but I'm fine with Mudryk. Like I said, I don't know Mudryk too well.
Good, man.
Yeah, I believe Mudryk has something there. I don't know the player well enough, but I can see the work that he's putting in off the pitch. The mentality seems to be right up there as well, and there's obviously something to him. So we're building for the long term. So it doesn't make sense for us to even have too many instant impacts, because we're not ready to instantly impact. Do you know what I mean? We're out here building for the long term. So same thing you guys did. You built for the long term, and then you started adding the experienced pieces on top. That's what kind of we need to do.
And writ off several moments. I wouldn't say writ off the season, but we did things that at the time were unpopular. It was kind of thrown in to the fans. It looked like a thrown in the white towel. Like, you got rid of Aubameyang, didn't really bring anyone in. We, at times, like, I look at one thing I liked about this January, because we've learned from our mistakes. We brought in Trossard and Jorginho, regardless of what we think of the players. Last Jan, we didn't. Them lot down the road brought in, I believe, Bentancur and Kulusevski. On top of all the other variables, it gave them a boost, really and truly.
Yeah.
So I can fully understand that.
I wouldn't swap them, honestly, because I agree with what you said earlier. If you put Mudryk in that Arsenal team on the left flank, 1v1 where Martinelli plays and you give him that responsibility in that system, I think he does very well. If you bring Trossard into our mess when we sign Mudryk and you put him straight in, I don't think he plays how he's playing right now. So I think I'll just take the trust with Mudryk long term. And like I said, I think the signings make sense for both teams because you guys need to close the league and we need to build. So I'm fine.
And I think the thing with Mudryk is, you know, I'm the one concern I have for Mudryk as an Arsenal fan is you know, Edu and Arteta, mainly Edu, you didn't get the first target. You know, that's the man that Arteta wanted. Whether it was good or not, walking away, it didn't get done in it. Happy with the alternative, but it didn't get done. If Mudryk keeps playing the same way he's playing now for Chelsea and he never develops, then I might be looking at us a bit funny. And also, again, Trossard's only 28, so you've still got a number of years. And the way he plays, he's not necessarily reliant on pace. But Mudryk would have given us more longevity and probably tied in. You know, Arteta probably considered, all right, if he struggles in the first 6 months, I probably know how he's going to work for us in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, there'll be another Mudryk of some sorts that we're all scrambling over. So I was disappointed, but it's a good backup to get Trossard. Clearly, he was on a list. He weren't the first. Obviously, he was beefing Brighton. We took advantage of the situation, just like Jorginho. Sometimes you have to sit there and do that. So what's your feelings on Graham Potter? Are you in or out? Do you give him somewhat this much of is this season a free hit for him of sorts? Because to be fair to him, he has come in, you know, following where Thomas Tuchel winning stuff for you. Obviously, there's been massive turnovers in players and all of these things. Me personally, as a neutral, I would say if I was a Chelsea fan, I still want Potter gone because regardless of any of this, I would, when you think of what Graham Potter football is, I don't know it. Like with Arteta, I'm not saying I was, you know, knew Arteta was going to do this, but I was a fan of his because you could see players were letting him down in what he's doing. I'm a neutral, but I don't necessarily see Graham Potter's brand of football. But it's better you say because you're a Chelsea man. You're watching this day in, day out.
I think there's a lot of black and white when we say in or out, and I never liked it. And even when he reached my breaking point, which was Southampton, I said, listen, you need to resign. I never ran around saying, oh, Potter out, because I don't enjoy saying that. It's not something that I take pleasure into to completely, because even when I said against Southampton, you need to go because you've reached my breaking point and you look like you're going to take us into a relegation battle, or you're going to take us into we're already in a disrespectful position in the league. We're still in 10th and we're on +1 goal difference. That is a joke, right? But he was looking like he was going to take us into the bottom half, and you can't do that. My stance on Potter hasn't really changed because I'll maintain I never wanted Tuchel sacked in the first place, and I never really vouched for Potter because we didn't even get a chance to even look at what managers we would want to replace Tuchel because he was hired within 24 hours.
60 million in it to take him to Brighton.
So with Potter, he was always having to prove his point, and I think that's where I sit. Prove your point. You're in the grey area. I'm not completely Potter fanatic, and I never was, and like, oh my god, Potter's going to be the next Alex Ferguson and he's the right man. I don't know that. I'm not on this side where I'm like it's all Potter's fault, even when I wanted him to resign, because I know that the squad is too big. I know that there's other issues, there's context. Yeah, I know there's context to why he might not be performing, but like I said, you must get results. If you don't get results, you have to leave. And what I always maintained on my channel is no matter
especially at your club as well.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And what I always maintained on my channel is wherever you sit or wherever I'm sitting in terms of my thinking with the manager, I can understand all of your points of view because this manager is unproven at this level, and he wasn't showing any life. What's happened to Potter in the last couple of weeks has come from him being on the verge of being sacked. This was not the same man that we saw a few weeks ago.
Even he wasn't playing conference. He's vexed.
Yeah, he wasn't playing this formation. He wasn't connecting with the fans, which some people really, really care about. I'm not too bothered, but you know, he wasn't bringing this "we must" mentality into his tactics, his in-game management, where he was bringing on Gallagher, making it a 3-5-2, or you know, and really shoring up
the last 9 minutes against Spurs, man, bringing on them attackers with like 9 minutes left. He's moving mad.
His substitutions and in-game management wasn't making sense. Now he's really trying to get results, and why has that happened? Because he's under pressure. So
players are turning.
Pressure makes diamonds, in it. Do you know what I mean? He was on the verge of being sacked against Leeds and Dortmund, and that's where he decided to change his outlook and really go into this must-win mentality and become very pragmatic in some of his approach. And that's what we need you to do because you must win games. So right now, Potter still has to prove his point. He's 10th. He's 10th in the league. You know, we got Champions League now in the last 8. Prove your point. And then ideally, what I've always wanted for him is to, at minimum, clear the squad And ideally, my rule of thumb is to always give a manager a full preseason and a full league season campaign. That's the ideal situation for me to judge someone. But we wouldn't get to that point if you kept losing and put us into the bottom 6, 7, because you would have to be sacked. Now you're starting to recover it a little bit. And I say a little bit because there's tougher tests ahead. Now you might get that season, next season, that you should get, that we want you to have. Well, most people want you to have to judge you properly. But like I said, you need to keep getting results, because it's what the form he had and the performance he had against Southampton was a sackable offence. And the run that we had of 2 wins in 16, at any Premier League club, you can get sacked. Not just Chelsea. You can get sacked at Leeds with that record. You can get sacked at Southampton. No matter what the context is, a record like that.
The amount of social media engagements, if that was my club, because we've been, I don't know statistically, but in them sort of things there, it is what it is. It's like, I personally feel Graham Potter's got a lot of quote unquote excuses that could be given to him. You know, it's not his players, some are his players, the owner, all of that jazz. But at the same time, Chelsea don't give you time. And for me, if I was a Chelsea fan, you know, the one luxury I'd say is, who are we going to get? Is it going to be the other Brighton gaffer? Is it going to be this guy? Is it going to be that guy? And also, Chelsea are doing him a favor. It's not like Pep Guardiola's available. Chelsea are a big club. He's a big manager, mutual interest. Potter's kind of being done a favor at Chelsea. I don't begrudge him for leaving Brighton, because even if it doesn't work out for him with you lot, you'll get them kind of jobs again. He'll probably end up managing England, give or take him or Eddie Howe. So whenever you're kind of doing someone a favor, I can understand why there's pressure. If it was me, like you said, if you keep losing, things are getting mad, I can't see a style of brand of football, then you need to go. But like you said, I'd give you a pre-season. The only thing I would say is you got till September. You know, I'll kill it early. You've got to this season, you've got till September, October. If you're still doing this, it is what it is. At least while there's some multiple games to salvage, really and truly. Personally.
And the thing is, on top of it as well, is that when we apply the context of to why he's struggling, we have to also go back to the definition of what management is about. If I manage a group of colleagues, if I manage a group of people in an office, and one of them is late all the time, and it's messing up the performance of the entire team, and it's messing up the monthly performances, I can't say that that's context as to why I'm not performing as a manager. I have to take action, right? Your squad is too big. If your squad is too big, then you have to cut some players out. You have to do something. And the squad is still too big right now, but we're getting results. So it just goes to show that you can get results. There's no excuse for losing at home to Southampton with a managerless Southampton in bottom of the table. Doesn't make any sense. Same Southampton that lost to Grimsby. So you have to get some results. There's no Chelsea fan that's sitting here saying Leeds beat that Southampton team as well at Ellen Road.
To be fair, they took points off us and United and you lot. So I allowed them really.
But the thing is like, when you're not beating anybody above you, you have to beat below. If you don't beat below and above, then where are we going? Do you know what I mean? We're in relegation for you. So it got to a point where it's like, yes, I get the context and I'll use that to defend you for so long, but you have to win some games. No Chelsea fan is sitting here saying you must win 10 games in a row. You must win 7 out of 10. I think even in 15, if you won 5, drew 5, lost 5, it would have actually, you would have had a little bit of like,
it sounds mad, but I see where you're going. There's
what I'm saying.
It's a mixed bag.
But bro, two wins in 16?
That's sackable offense. Other managers have been sacked for less than that. Some managers have been sacked when they've got a much healthier record than that. I'm saying.
Like his form literally had us just above the relegation zone with his period in charge. Tuchel salvaged a significant amount of the points as to why we weren't in 16th, 15th. I will never regret thinking that as a breaking. That's my breaking point. I'll never regret my breaking point. It's like, say someone cheats on you and that's your breaking point. And someone says, no, you got to trust the process. They won't do it again. They won't do it again. And maybe they won't. And maybe you'll have a happy relationship. But that's the breaking point. Do you know what I'm saying? I will never regret having that breaking point. It's now up to Graham Potter to prove that he can be in that job and can handle the magnitude and the pressure. Because let me say one thing to finalize. There will never be a time at Chelsea where you don't have problems. If you think that everything's going to be rosy, you're never going to have it.